Welcome to the AdSense Flippers podcast. Are you sick and tired of gurus who have plenty of ideas but are short on substance? Worried that ebook you bought for $17.95 won't bring you the personal and financial freedom you long for? Hey, you're not alone. Join thousands of others in their pursuit of niche profits without the bullshit. Straight from your hosts, Justin and Joe of AdSense Flippers.
Welcome to episode 6 of the AdSense Flippers podcast. Hello, my name is Justin. I'll be your host today, and I've also got my co-captain here, my technical guy extraordinaire, Joe Magnotti. What's up, buddy?
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Anyway, I just want to go over briefly what we have in this week's episode. We're going to do a little bit of news and updates as we normally do, and we're going to talk about the heart of this week's episode, which is partnerships. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Finally, we're going to go over some ninja marketing tips, tricks, and our plans for the future that will help you grow your business. So let's get right into it, buddy. What's going on?
Well, our BuyOurSites page is finally working as expected.
Yeah, it's kind of nice, right? We actually had a mistake. We had one of our sites up there for 1 penny. Someone snatched it up and PayPal'd us 1 penny for the purchase of a site.
Yeah, and it was like $1,000 site. So we had to refund the 1 penny and say, not so fast.
Yeah, at least we were alerted to it then, right? We're like, okay, well, are there any other mistakes? We can fix that really quickly. And we gave her a discount for letting us know on her next purchase. So that was cool.
Yeah, and I think I've added a lot of extra sites now. Like we said, the API is working, so the numbers get automatically updated every day in terms of revenue and page views. So check it out. If you have any suggestions or comments or improvements, other things you'd like to see on the BuyOurSites page, please let us know.
Yeah, I don't really like our sales copy. That's probably something we can fix, but I'm not really a sales copy guy. So if you do have any suggestions, please let us know in the comments on the blog. Have you take a look at that and let us know what you think.
So we're getting down to the nitty-gritty with our internship.
Yeah, buddy, we got it down to 3. We were supposed to pick one this last weekend, man, but the applicants were so good, we've been holding off. By the next episode, we absolutely will have picked an intern to be coming out here, so really excited about that. We narrowed it down from 17 to 3, and honestly, any of these 3 I think would do quite well here, don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. It's too bad we have to only pick one, but we do have to only pick one, and I am very excited to get him out here and get him working because I need help.
Yeah, we're talking to some other business owners here in Davao and abroad and telling them, look, this is such an amazing deal. You should take a look at it. So hopefully we can get some more people following this model and we can really turn this into something. I love the Tropical MBA, the AdSense Flipper intern position, and I think this is something we could really expand.
Yeah, Dan Andrews, this one's for you. This was genius.
Yeah, I love you, buddy. Thanks for turning us on to it. All right, so this next one really isn't related to AdSense Flipper specifically, but right now we're in the process of setting up a capture center for a US-based company in Davao City. It's pretty interesting. So there's a company in the US, they need an office in the Philippines, they're looking for cheap labor, so they've asked us to help set it up for them. So right now we're in the process of setting up the office, getting the agents in there, setting up all the services. It's kind of an interesting process. It's something I think we could do again too for others looking for a capture center, so I like this part of the business.
Yeah, it's part of our outsourcing gig, part of our consulting services that we offer, and it's been a very successful little project. I'm very happy with it.
So the last thing I want to mention is we have a lot of internet type peeps that are moving to Davao City. We'll have our intern out here a few weeks. We've got a bunch of friends that run internet businesses, and now we've got some new people that are coming out. They're coming out here and staying, man. That's pretty cool. I mean, remember a year and a half ago, I swear it was like me, you, and Dan, right? Daniel. It's the 3 of us, and now we've got probably 9 or 10 people out here doing similar stuff. So I really hope that continues. We're trying to get more people out here. More people are wanting to come out and visit. I think that'll be great for Davao City. I think it'll be great for our businesses together.
Yeah, I mean, I think Davao is very attractive to online entrepreneurs, right? It's cheap, it's very safe. You can get most of the stuff done here that you need to. The infrastructure is good enough. Okay, you're not going to get 27 meg download, but you can get good enough internet to make your online business work.
Jesus, 27 meg download, man. I'd kill for that. Anyway, we're setting up kind of a mastermind group. We kind of go to dinner on a regular basis, all of us, kind of hang out, chit chat. We're looking to kind of formalize that a little bit and set up a dinner where we can discuss business problems. So with our informal mastermind group that we're setting up, we'll definitely let you guys know how it's working out and our thoughts on kind of like how that works in general. We're looking for kind of a process or a structure we can use that we think will be effective. So we'll be sure to check back in and let you guys know how that's working on. So let's get right into the heart of this week's episode.
The AdSense Flippers podcast.
So the heart of this week's episode is all about partnerships, and partnerships, how they specifically relate to internet businesses. We get asked this a lot, having a partnership and doing this business. What's it like? Is it good? Do you like it? Do you not like it? And we have to tell you, there's good and bad that comes with it. And I think a lot of times people that are looking at partnerships shouldn't be in one. And we're gonna go over some of the do's and don'ts in partnerships in general. But first, we want to talk about some of the benefits that you'll receive by being in a partnership.
Yeah, I think the first benefit, obviously, is the one that biggest reason why most people go into a partnership is to split the workload. Right, Justin? You've got this huge heap of work to do, and you find some other talented, like-minded person to help you with all that.
Yeah, one of the things with new businesses is a lot of the work is front-loaded. You have to do a lot of the work up front before you're going to see any kind of return. So that's a bit daunting to someone looking to set up their own business. And if you have a partner, it just feels better, right? You're like, oh my God, I don't have to do all this crap by myself. I can focus on, this or that. The other person can focus on this or that, and you can get a lot more done, right?
Yeah, and I would say the second thing is probably the second biggest reason why people go into partnerships, and that's splitting costs.
Yeah, definitely splitting costs is key. Just like the work is front-loaded, often the cost is front-loaded. So there's going to be some heavy investment. You're a lot better off with an internet business, but there's still costs involved. And if you're splitting those costs with a partner, it's a lot easier to get started.
Yeah, even if it's like an equity partner, somebody that's just an invisible money partner. I don't know if that's the right word, but...
Yeah, if you have a money partner, it's a lot easier to test the business's viability. It won't cost you as much money. So you can get into a business, try it out, see if it's going to work, and then jump into something else or pivot if you need to right away without spending too much cash.
At the same time, though, other people's money. Dan Andrew would love that little saying. Spending someone else's money may be lower risk for you, but you're going to have to one day own up to the fact that you spent somebody else's money without a return.
I disagree with that a bit. Overall, I think spending someone else's money is not necessarily a bad thing. It lets you get into business and build a business quickly without putting your own capital at risk, but it also lets you scale it or get it up to speed a lot faster than you would if you had to wait for your own money. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So another great reason to get into partnerships is varied skill sets, right? If you have two partners or more, obviously some of them are going to bring different skill sets to the table. If you're a sales guy and he's a programmer, you probably match up pretty well in terms of skill sets. Maybe not in terms of personality, but at least in terms of skill set.
Yeah, having someone else there to cover the technical aspects that you're not used to or the marketing aspects that you're not familiar with is really helpful. So that's the reason I think a lot of people partner, and we'll get into some of the downsides in a bit, but it's both a reason to partner and a reason not to partner, I think. The last point I think we'd say it's a benefit is accountability. Now, one of the problems with starting your own business is sometimes you slack off. Sometimes you're not as balls to the wall as you should be. And having someone there to make you accountable, to check up on you, to make sure you're doing what you need to be doing is really helpful in a partnership.
Yeah, and not only to just check up on what you need to be doing, but to push you to the next level. I would say that's another part of accountability that is hard to measure. But you see if the other partner is pushing by doing more work or being more creative or bringing more ideas to the table, you're more likely to try to keep up.
Yeah, and say what we like about businesses and bosses and stuff. A boss can be motivating, especially if it's a good boss. And a partnership, you should have a good boss. You're his boss and she's your boss, but your bosses together and you hold each other accountable, which I think is important. All right, now we've talked about the benefits of some partnerships. Let's get into some of the challenges or disadvantages of partnerships that we see on a regular basis. We get asked all the time, do you think I should partner? And what's our standard answer, buddy?
No.
Don't do it, right? There are so many reasons that partnerships are a bad idea, and they're mostly doomed to failure. So we're going to cover some of the reasons, some of the problems with partnerships that you may or may not have thought about. And it's a good thing to think about, especially if you're looking for someone to partner with in your business.
Yeah, I would say, one of the biggest things to remember is that you can add a lot of those benefits we mentioned without adding a partner.
Yeah, a lot of times people think they need a partner to get this or that done. What they really don't understand is you can hire employees, contractors, limited partners to do some of the stuff that you're looking to get done. So let's talk about the first issue or problem with a partnership: inequality in workload. This is something we've definitely struggled with, where you have one partner that's not really pulling their weight, right? And this can cause serious resentment in your business, where one partner's not pulling their weight and still getting paid the same amount of money. It's painful.
Absolutely. For me, that was one of the biggest things that hurt me when we had our mortgage business together. We had a third partner who simply basically stopped doing everything and was getting paid an equal amount as we were. And so it became a game of who could do less.
Yeah, when you start going down that road, we're like, who can do less because we're all getting paid the same? That's a really bad situation for your business. Your business is what suffers, and ultimately you suffer from it as well.
Yeah, and then outside of that, I think we've struggled with this even recently where you'll do a little bit more than me and I'll do a little bit more than you, and we have to pick each other up. And I think that's part of the normal ebb and flow of a partnership. So that shouldn't be confused with someone just dwindling down to nothing, but it's still a challenge with partnerships in that it's not always going to be 50-50.
Yeah, I'd say probably 6 months ago, I was a bit frustrated with you. I remember I came to you, I was like, look, man, what's going on? And we had to have a conversation about it multiple times. And then finally it started to pick up. And I'd say probably the last month or so, I realized this, is I've been slacking off. I have been doing less than you overall. And you've mentioned to me a few times recently, like, hey, what's going on? You mad at me? Or are we like playing that game again, right? We've done that. You're like, are you playing that game where you're like trying to do less? I'm like, no, dude, I'm just kind of, I don't know, I'm just a little burned. I'm out of it a little bit, so.
Yeah, and I think, we have a good work relationship, so it's easier for us, but I can't imagine if we went through these little ebbs and flows over the last year, if we had been new partners, it might have been the cause of real strain on our relationship.
Yeah, it's easy to laugh about now, but when you're in the heart of it, it's really not that funny. So here's another reason that it's difficult to have a partnership. Any profit you have is cut in half or worse. Right, 3 partners, you're now getting 33% of what you would have otherwise.
Yeah, and when you're starting up and there's basically no profit, that means 33% of zero is still zero. But when you start turning a little bit of a profit, especially enough of a profit for like one person to live on, even overseas, now it starts to become painfully obvious that maybe I don't need this partner.
Yeah, you're at that point where you're like, okay, the business is viable, it's making a bit of profit, and you know that on your own, it could run, you can make enough money, but with a partner, it sucks. Yeah, that's a tough position to be in. You got to fight through that. That's a time, I think, to work even harder if you do have a partnership, because you need to get to the level where both of you have that kind of income. Another problem, I think, is communicating strategies, ideas, visions for your business. That kind of thing becomes more difficult the more partners you have in the business.
Yeah, we're a good example of this because I'm not as articulate as you. And sometimes when we have problems or issues, it's hard for me to say exactly what's going on and what's bothering me about it, where you might have a little bit more of your debate tactics going on that help you out.
Yeah, we have some autonomy, so I can make some decisions without you, you can make some decisions without me, but a lot of times it requires us both talking about it. It's like a major business, direction, and we really have to work that out. And having 2 partners, we disagree on like where the business should go, what we should be focusing on. If you have 3 partners, 4 partners, it gets really ugly trying to get everyone on the same page.
Yeah, and then never mind if some of the partners are more technically inclined, which usually leads to an introverted personality. If you have those kind of people as partners in your business, you can expect to have to pull them a little bit, kicking and screaming, into communication.
Yeah, here's another problem too, is level of risk tolerance. Now, you and I know this one quite well. We dealt with this with AdSense flippers much more recently, but basically you have one partner that's willing to throw it all in there. Let's reinvest every cent in the business. Let's cut our salaries down to almost nothing so we can build the hell out of this. And the other partner goes, no, we should take as much cash as we can as possible, not reinvest enough until we have huge profits. So, this balancing act of trying to decide how aggressive you should be in reinvesting your business can be difficult. We've fought over this issue.
Yeah, definitely. We've come to loud arguments over this issue.
You were about to say blows, right?
Yeah.
You're going to say, came to blows. No, we're not like fighting here. No, it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad, but I'm just more conservative with money and investments, and I think that you are not that way, so we have to find a balance between us that works for the both of us. And I think that's one thing we should mention about partnerships. It's a lot about compromise, and the more partners you have, the more compromises you're going to have to make.
Yeah, it's kind of like a marriage in that way. One of the good things, the slight benefits I would say that come from this like risk tolerance issue, is that it often forces you to look for alternative answers. It makes you look for compromises that ultimately, hopefully, will be good for your business. So there is a side benefit that's good there, I think.
Yeah, and the other side benefit too is there's another way of thinking, right? So maybe your idea of taking all profits and everything and reinvesting into the business ultimately was a bad plan, but now because we had some risk tolerance level that's a little bit lower, we were able to take some profit out of the business at the time.
Yeah, it helps you balance it out a bit. So in this next section, we want to talk about some of the do's and the don'ts when it comes to partnerships.
Right. One of the biggest things that you should definitely do if you have a partner is have well-defined roles and responsibilities.
Yeah, you're responsible for this, I'm responsible for that, and that helps for you guys holding each other accountable and making sure that the work is done and evenly split up.
Right, and that can change over time. I mean, it's something you should review on a regular basis, but make sure to have it, I would even write it down, maybe have a little contract between each other kind of thing.
Another thing you need to do is be extremely honest with your thoughts or views on the business, goals, and risk tolerance. So you need to know yourself. You need to be able to explain and communicate to your partner that here's where I think our business should be going. Here's where we need to be at. Here's what I'm willing to risk in this business, and here's where I want it to be, right? I mean, if you're not able to do that with your partner very openly, then it's going to cause problems and resentment down the road.
Yeah, this is pretty easy for us because we live together, Justin, and we know each other for so long. But I can imagine how it'd be very difficult for other partners who are new or separated geographically, but it's something that you should make sure to communicate. And the only way you can do that is by knowing each other, communicating on a regular basis.
Another thing that's really important to do is to meet on a regular basis and talk about strategy, talk about goals, talk about direction of your company. So, we meet once a week and sit down and talk about the podcast episode, but we also meet once a month to specifically talk about the goals that we hit for the previous month and our direction for the next month. And then after that, we'll go ahead and sit down and put everything in base camp and go through what we need to do. So.
Right, and I think that's a good tip there is to make sure you're using proper tools to communicate effectively. Things like Basecamp, setting up little projects, allows you to know where the partnership is going, where the company is going. So one of the other things that you should not do is putting unrealistic expectations or applying your worldview to your partner. This is a very common thing I see in partnerships all the time that fail is, well, I think it should be done this way, and I want my partner to do it that way. Your partner is their own person. They can live their life and their things outside of business their own way. So you can't force them into your little box.
Yeah, and whether it's their personal life or also kind of their way of viewing the business, you should actually like and respect the fact that they view it from a different perspective. That's going to help your business grow because they bring different things to the table and different ideas about how a business should be run. Another problem we see fairly often is harboring ill will or feelings of resentment. We've struggled with this a bit in the past where things start to build up a little bit, but once they do start to bubble over, we generally sit down and talk about it, go out and have a couple of beers and get over it. That's our basic strategy for dealing with resentment. Luckily, we don't let it build up to the point where it's a huge issue, and I think that's important because that can hurt your business long term because you were working with these feelings of resentment and it's just not getting done the way you want it to get done.
Yeah, it may sound cliche, but hug it out, bitch.
So we also want to cover some of the alternatives to partnerships. And I think these are important because you don't always have to have a partnership to meet your goals.
Right, yeah. The first thing I would say is employees. A lot of the things that you can fill with a partner, you can fill with employees instead. Especially if you just have fairly consistent, boring work that needs to be done. You want to be the idea man, and you just say, well, I want to partner with someone for financial benefit only and have them do all the work. Better off just paying an employee.
Especially if your business really has legs, why not just pay someone $12, $15, $18 an hour rather than giving them upside in your business? It seems silly. The next thing I would say is contractors. So if you need like a particular skill set or you're working on a particular project that is kind of outside your understanding or something you can get done, why not pay for a contractor for that one piece to get done?
Yeah, perfect example of this, Justin, is our BuyOurSites page. The coding and the programming and the software development was definitely over my head in order to get it done. But we could have partnered with a third person and given them a chunk of every sale that we made, but that would have been giving up way too much, I think.
Yeah, we could have got some JV to do it or something, but that's outrageous because that's a long-term revenue generator for us for a short-term project. It just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
The next thing to talk about would be mastermind groups. A lot of times, especially in internet marketing, it gets boring. It gets a little lonely. So we've been doing our outsourcing out here in Davao City, and we felt a bit closed off, right? And that's one of the reasons we joined Dynamite Circle, is so we can meet other like-minded people that are doing similar stuff and traveling.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people partner out of boredom. They partner out of just the need to talk to somebody else about their business issues. You can find that from a mastermind group. And mastermind groups are free. They're not going to take half your business.
Yeah, it takes up a bit of your time, but it's a good time share because you get something out of it as well. And if you're not, find another mastermind group. Tons out there. Another option is mentorships. So there are people in your space that are probably more successful than you, that would love the opportunity to work with someone who's hardworking, who's motivated, and has already started down the path that they're heading down, right? A good approach for this, I don't know if you guys have seen this before, but check out Charlie Hohn's. It's called New Way to Work. He did a TED talk about this, and it's a great way to approach someone who is more senior in your space, someone who has a lot more hours put into something, and getting them as kind of a mentor for your business.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be that formal, It doesn't have to be like, oh, you're my mentor kind of thing. You can just simply approach someone, ask them for some ideas, some feedback on your business, and then develop a communication line with them and regularly talk to them about what's going on.
Yeah, and we're not talking about some like crappy sales page, paid coaching or paid mentorship where they're teaching you but they don't really know what they're doing either. No, definitely don't do that. But I'm talking about reaching out to people who you know and respect in your space that would like the opportunity to work with you. And a lot of times when you're teaching someone, you learn quite a bit yourself. So you learn about them, you're forced to learn a bit more about your business just by the simple fact that you're showing someone else how to do it. One of the other things we should talk about are limited partners, right? If you have to take on a partner, if it's required, you can take on a partner at 10%, right? You can take on a partner for investment at a lower percentage than half of the business. It doesn't always have to be an equal share of the business.
Absolutely would recommend that in terms of an equity partner, that they don't get everything. If they're not going to do any of the actual work, they're just going to put up money, they shouldn't get 50% of the business.
Another thing would be an accountability partner. Pat Flynn in a recent podcast, we'll link to it in the show notes, but he talked about finding someone else in your space that's about at the same level and kind of working together to build community, to have conversations back and forth, to work with. And so this is a partner that maybe actually a competitor of yours, but you tend to work with fairly closely because you like what they're doing, your skill sets match or your vision and ideology match, something like that. Like I think we kind of have unspoken thing with like Spencer from Niche Pursuits, where we're kind of along the same path, talking about the same things, and we just generally like each other. We like what the other one's doing, so.
Yeah, I really love this concept actually, because you don't have to give up anything financially, but you still have someone to talk to, bounce ideas off, and be accountable to on a regular basis.
Another thing that you can do is an advisory board. Now, this probably isn't for one-man internet marketing show, but you can actually get people at a very small equity position in your business, normally 1% to 3%, that will actually sit on a board and kind of sit in on your strategy meetings. You'll have to be responsible to them for your revenue growth, these types of things, and you can set those up relatively quickly. I know a lot of people are looking to sit on advisory boards, so if you ask a few people that in your space that you think would be helpful to your business and would really help grow your business in the right direction, that may be something for you to check out.
Yeah, I think that's especially true when you're going from being a moderate success to a large success. Bringing in other people that have industry experience and giving up a very small percentage is totally worth it.
I think that honestly, we're not in a position to do that, but I think someone like Pat Flynn might be, where it may help grow his business if he takes on some senior people and like had them as in advisory positions for him. I don't know, but you look at Pat Flynn's stuff and he often like breaks the mold anyway, so he might not actually go along with their advising him to do. Speaking of Pat Flynn, someone who listened to our last podcast episode 5, I think it mentioned to Pat Flynn something about us saying that we mentioned that Pat Flynn doesn't really believe in Bluehost, or that he's selling as an affiliate but doesn't really believe in it or something like that, and that's not the case at all. In fact, what we were talking about was that I looked at Bluehost and the money that Pat Flynn was making off that as an affiliate, And I said, oh my God, why don't we switch some of our sites to Bluehost? It seems to be pretty popular. Maybe we can talk about Bluehost. And Joe didn't like it all that much. He looked at Bluehost, and for him, he didn't want to go with that. He wanted to try HostGator. So it's not a knock on Pat Flynn at all. I know Pat Flynn does believe in Bluehost. That's just a matter of opinion or a preference, actually.
Yeah, I'm not sure how this confusion arose. I listened to the old podcast again and to the area. I just want to say that I think Bluehost is actually probably better than GoDaddy. It's faster, the cPanel's a little bit better, but HostGator, in my personal opinion, just happens to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with affiliates or Pat Flynn or anything like that.
Yeah, I think like Pat Flynn and us, I mean, we only recommend things that we actually like or appreciate or are working with, and he does the same thing. So we're on the same page there. There's no issues.
The AdSense Flippers podcast continues.
And now on to our Ninja Marketing tips, tricks, and our plans for the future. The first thing we want to talk about is audiobooks. I was looking to get into more book reading, listening to more books, reading more books, and I found a nifty little program called Audible. What Audible is basically allows you to download audiobooks, and I think there's a monthly fee, $10 a month, and you can download one book a month. So I've been doing this for the last couple of months, and it's been fantastic for me. I can go get a foot massage, sit there, listen to a book. I can, right before I go to bed, start playing in my earbuds. Great deal.
Yeah, you bought me the subscription for my Christmas present. Thank you, buddy.
Merry Christmas, man.
And I've been listening to a recent book that actually Dan Andrews recommended, Sex at Dawn, which is about human sexual behavior of our ancestors and stuff like that. It's a very interesting book, but I don't have a lot of time to read, and I find that the audio format does work for me, like when I'm in a taxi or I'm on the way somewhere, or I just want to, like you said, relax, foot massage, or I'm hanging out, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I listened to Derek Sivers' Anything You Want, which I thought was fantastic. And then I'm working on The Lean Startup, which is pretty cool.
It allows you to consume books a lot faster than you normally would.
So our next tip for you is for any internet marketers out there that don't really feel you have anyone holding you accountable, you don't really know who to turn to for that, you're not in any mentorship programs, I want you to look into a program called SCORE. And this is what SCORE is. It's built by the Small Business Administration specifically to help small business people kind of get on track, get up to speed, and help them. What they do is they set you up with a business executive, often retired or older, but quite experienced, and you sit down with them on a regular meeting, like once a week or once every other week, and kind of go over your business, where things are at, where you plan on going, that type of thing.
Yeah, we did this for our mortgage business, and it was extremely helpful because that was the first business I had ever really run. So having someone there as kind of a mentorship almost to guide us through all of the little issues, plus keep us on track for the bigger issues, was extremely helpful.
And as your business grows, you can go from having that, it's a free program too, but you can go from having that mentor to actually setting up an advisory board. So they'll do that where you have to go in and go over profit and loss, you have to go over your strategy with them, and they'll kind of guide you and help you make out your plans for your business. It's a really cool program, so we'll put a link in the show notes. You can check it out and see if it's gonna work for you. Thank you for sticking with us on the 6th episode of the AdSense Flippers podcast. We're really excited we've gone to a weekly format. I'm liking it, man. What do you think?
Oh, I love it. It's so much better than blog posts. I feel like I can really get my thoughts out there a lot faster, and it's much easier.
Yeah, I'm glad, man. You seem a bit more fired up about it than me telling you, oh my God, it's time for another blog post, and you're like dreading it. Anyway, guys, thanks for sticking around. Had a great episode, and we'll see you again next week.
Bye-bye, everybody.
You've been listening to the AdSense Flippers podcast with Justin and Joe. Be sure to hit up AdSenseFlippers.com for more. That's AdSenseFlippers.com. Thanks for listening.